you have to hand it to DJI and Insta360. While GoPro has only fixed bugs of the Hero 13 in recent months, a number of new features have been added to the Ace Pro 2 and the Action 5 Pro since their release in the fall. DJI added the high bitrate option to the Action 5 relatively early on, later the image quality was improved, even in super night mode, a boost lens with a larger field of view was released, the Mic Mini is now supported, and there is also the option to create super slow motion videos in post. There have also been a number of important updates for the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. New accessories are now supported, the image quality has been improved, including in the new lock mode, and a new portrait mode for better exposure of the face has been introduced. So it makes sense to look at the three cameras again to find out which is now the best action camera for 2025. There are 10 categories, all of which are important when evaluating a modern action camera. At the end, I'll tell you which camera I would recommend today. Of all the categories, the most important is of course the image quality. And by that, I also mean the look that a camera creates. What do the colors look like, the dynamic range, exposure and contrast, and perhaps a little less important, but also interesting, how detailed is a recording? GoPro has always been known for its nice colors. The Hero 13 produces relatively warm images, partly because the yellow tones in particular are emphasized. In addition, the contrast at the edges is strongly increased. You can see this relatively well in the clouds. And it gives the shot a special look. But this also applies to the Ace Pro 2. But the colors of the Ace Pro 2 are somewhat more neutral overall and do not have this strong yellow look. All these shots here were taken in the standard settings and no corrections in post were made. The Action 5 Pro has perhaps the coolest look in this comparison. The shots have strong blue tones. You can see this well in the clouds in the comparison, and I think this is quite typical for DJI. You have to like that. What is also noticeable, of course, is that the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro 2 use HDR processing in the standard settings. This means that the highlights in particular are much better protected than on the GoPro. The GoPro can by no means keep up with the dynamic range of the other cameras. The Action 5 and the Ace Pro 2 also often show more detail in the darker parts of the image. Although the Hero 13 has a separate HDR mode, this has a number of disadvantages and does not always result in a realistic image or beautiful skin tones. And that brings us to an important point in this comparison. Some people don't like the HDR look and think that any kind of HDR processing would generally look unrealistic. Even though I think that the shots from the Ace Pro 2 or the Action 5 Pro rarely look really unrealistic and don't have a typical HDR look, it's important for many people to be able to switch off the HDR function. And this is only possible with the Ace Pro 2. So if this is important to you, you should avoid the Action 5 Pro. Incidentally, the dynamic range of the Ace Pro 2 is visibly better than that of the Hero 13, even with HDR switched off. You can reduce the sharpness on all three cameras, and you should also do this for a more cinematic look. But as I said, these shots here were taken with the default settings, just as the manufacturer intended. And the Ace Pro 2 does something else better than the other two cameras. As you can see, the subject is usually better exposed. This also applies in comparison to the Action 5, and not only in comparison to the Hero 13. All three cameras offer a high bitrate option and also a lock profile. Here you can see comparison shots with the lock profile. It should be added that the lock profile of the Ace Pro 2 only has 8-bit. So if you want to edit the colors of your shots heavily, the Action 5 Pro and also the Hero 13 have advantages. Perhaps the lock profile of the Hero 13 is still the best, but as I personally only rarely heavily color grade the footage from my action cameras, I find it difficult to give a well-founded opinion here. In addition to the standard profile, all three cameras also offer a color profile with more saturation, and as I said with Vivid, the Action 5 Pro now finally also has an additional color profile. But only the Ace Pro 2 comes with several additional different color profiles, which are adapted to different scenarios and are designed to take color grading off your hands. Leica Natural in particular is a cool high contrast color profile that is intended to reproduce the look of the camera manufacturer Leica. And the Ace Pro 2 has yet another advantage. It's the only camera that can shoot in 8K at up to 30 frames per second. And you can see the difference. Especially on a large screen, the 8K images have visibly more detail. And that's not all. The 4K image from the Ace Pro 2 also shows more detail than the 4K image from the Action 5 and can easily keep up with the 5K image from the GoPro. You can see this clearly here in the magnification. However, the most important thing is certainly the look that the camera creates. And what looks better here naturally has a lot to do with personal taste. That's why I'm showing you lots of shots in different situations today, so that you can form an appropriate opinion. And here's something else you should pay attention to. Of all three cameras, the Action 5 Pro produces by far the ugliest lens flares. Lens flares can also be seen in footage from the Ace Pro 2 and the Hero 13, but these are not colored and appear much more neutral. DJI should take a closer look at this. Incidentally, the Ace Pro 2 was developed in collaboration with Leica and is the only one of the three cameras that can take extremely high-resolution photos with up to 50 megapixels. And this strength is to be exploited. For example, there is a new high-quality metal frame for the Ace Pro 2, which transforms the action camera into a point-and-shoot camera. It looks really cool. And the Ace Pro 2 has another important strength. It has the widest field of view of all three cameras. The field of view of the Ace Pro 2 is significantly wider than that of the Hero 13, which visibly has the smallest field of view of the three cameras. But it's also slightly wider than that of the Action 5, and that in all different settings. On the other hand, there are additional lenses available for both the Hero 13 and the Action 5 Pro to extend the field of view. However, these are accessories that have to be purchased separately. And the Ace Pro 2 has another advantage in this context. With the clarity zoom, it has a 2x zoom in high quality, not just a simple digital crop of the image. The image quality is therefore significantly better than the 2x zoom of the Action 5 Pro. And only the Ace Pro 2 has a shooting mode called free frame mode, which allows you to freely change and determine the setting for the field of view even after shooting. The Ace Pro 2 therefore has a few clear advantages when it comes to the field of view. On the other hand, there are hardly any differences when it comes to slow motion recordings. In 4K 120, all three cameras take very good high-resolution slow motion shots. And for 240 frames per second, you have to reduce the resolution on all cameras, which leads to a significant reduction in image quality. I would say that GoPro takes the best shots here, as you can shoot at 240 frames per second in 2.7K, even if the recordings don't really look outstanding. GoPro also offers the special burst slow-mo mode, which allows you to shoot at up to 400 frames per second for a few seconds, albeit with very reduced image quality. But if one camera should win the slow motion category, then it's the Hero 13. With 1/1.3 inches, the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro 2 have a significantly larger sensor than the Hero 13. And the poorer the lighting conditions, the better you can see this difference. While the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro 2 still take good shots in the evening, this is not the case with the GoPro Hero 13. The stabilization performance of the Hero 13 also decreases significantly in low-light conditions. Insta360 and DJI have tried to improve the low-light performance with various updates. And it's amazing what good shots you can now take with an action camera in low light. Both cameras have their own recording mode for low light. Overall, however, the Ace Pro 2 takes better shots in the so-called pure video mode than the Action 5 Pro in super night mode. Above all, the shots from the Ace Pro 2 have better colors and show more details. You can also see that they have less image noise. You can see very clearly that the Action 5 Pro shot shows visibly less detail. For me, the low-light king is clearly the Ace Pro 2. When it comes to stabilization, however, the differences are not so clear. I compared all three cameras in the standard settings. All three also offer a more powerful stabilization setting, but this leads to a relatively strong crop, and I would usually do without it. The differences between the three cameras in terms of stabilization are rather small. I would say that the Action 5 compensates for slight vibrations a little better than the Ace Pro 2. But with strong movements, the Ace Pro 2 is perhaps even ahead. But as I said, these are such small differences. In practice, it won't make any difference. Now you've seen what the footage from the three action cameras looks like in direct comparison. But there are a few other crucial differences that may be even more important for some people. This applies, for example, to the body and the design. While GoPro has been selling an almost unchanged camera for years now, the body of the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro 2 are quite different. The Ace Pro 2 is the largest camera in this comparison, which is more of a disadvantage for an action camera. But as you can see here, the difference is not huge. The Ace Pro 2 is only slightly bigger than the Hero 13 and about the same size as the Action 5 if you use the Action 5 with the frame. If you use the Action 5 without the frame, it's the smallest of the three cameras. And the frame has a protective function, but you can also use it to mount the camera vertically, for example. You can easily remove and replace the lens cover on all three cameras. But only the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro 2 come with a magnetic mount in the standard configuration, which in my opinion is a clear advantage. The Insta360 Ace Pro 2 2 certainly has the larger form factor because of the flip-up back display. And this is certainly one of the most important unique selling points of the Ace Pro 2. Not only is it a very bright and sharp display, it can also be folded up completely. And during testing, I kept thinking to myself that this is a really big advantage if you want to film yourself. Although the Action 5 and the Hero 13 both have a front display, this can in no way be compared to a fully fledged display. Either the image is severely cropped or it's displayed very small. Now there are some who believe that the flip-up display is unsuitable for an action camera, that it would make the camera too fragile and could break easily. I've therefore carried out a drop test and can assure you that this display is not a weak point. Just take a look at the test afterwards if you're interested. And Insta360 has also thought about something for better audio quality. A wind guard has been installed on the front microphone to reduce wind noise. And it's noticeable. The wind noise is efficiently reduced. Let's listen to a few comparison recordings. So this is an audio test when vlogging. The Ace Pro 2 has the new wind guard installed and it's slightly windy today. So this is an audio test when vlogging. The Ace Pro 2 has the new wind guard installed and it's slightly windy today. I think you can see that Insta360 really wanted to deliver the best camera in every area with the Ace Pro 2 last year. But one category in which Insta360 has not managed to beat the competition and build the best camera is battery life. The Action 5 Pro is the clear winner here. The Action 5 Pro is capable of shooting in 4K 30 for more than 3 hours with one battery. The Hero 13 records for 1 hour and 48 minutes and the Ace Pro 2 in standard mode for 1 hour and 42 minutes and in endurance mode for 2 hours and 15 minutes. If you want to take long recordings in very warm temperatures, then you should not opt for the Hero 13. While neither the Ace Pro 2 nor the Action 5 had any problems here in the office at around 21 degrees Celsius and in 4K 60, the Hero 13 switched off after around 1 hour. Of course, this test does not reflect real conditions. If there is wind, you won't have any problems with any of the three cameras. Each of the three cameras has unique features and can of course also be controlled via an app. It would go beyond the time frame to show all the special features in detail here. Whether these features and especially the features of the app are relevant for you depends of course on your individual use. Today I would just like to mention the most important features that set the individual cameras apart. There are several additional lenses for the Hero 13. For example, an ultra-wide lens like this one, a macro lens with manual focus control, and most recently, the anamorphic lens is finally available. And this is also very useful, only the GoPro Hero 13 captures the GPS data internally. With the other two cameras, you have to use an accessory such as a remote for this. With the Ace Pro 2, you can also use the smartphone app to record the GPS data. The most useful additional feature of the Action 5 Pro is the internal memory. Of course, all three cameras support microSD cards, but only the Action 5 also has an internal memory of 47 GB. This can be very useful. It's also the only camera to which you can connect two DJI Mic 2s at the same time and which has a pressure gauge that shows you the altitude when hiking or the depth when diving, for example. On the other hand, the Insta360 app is probably the best app in this comparison. In addition, only the Ace Pro 2 supports not only voice commands, but also gesture control. It's the only camera with a pause function and an AI highlights assistant that automatically recognizes important moments in a long shot and captures them as highlights. It has its own dashcam mode and an underwater mode for more beautiful underwater shots. So have you formed an opinion on what would be the best camera for you? Then let's take a look at the price. All three cameras are currently available for under $400. The Ace Pro 2 and the Hero 13 cost $399 and the Action 5 Pro $349. But all three cameras are already on sale at reduced prices. So check out the links in the video description for good deals. If you use the link for the Ace Pro 2, you'll also get a free gift. And if you're interested in the utility frame with the grip shown, check out the new Ace Pro 2 Explorer bundle. So which camera should you buy? As I said, Insta360 certainly aimed to build the best camera in every way. And I also think that the Ace Pro 2 could be a great choice for many people. The good image quality, the good low-light performance and the flip-up display are clear advantages. On the other hand, if you're looking for a camera that's a bit smaller and perhaps cheaper, go for the Action 5 Pro, especially if you like the slightly bluish DJI look. I would only go for the Hero 13 if you clearly like the GoPro colors better. In my opinion, that's the only real argument for buying the Hero 13, but you may see it differently. So let me know in the comments. There will be more action camera videos to come. Give me a like as feedback if the video was interesting for you. Stay tuned and see you next time.